And welcome back to this series between NRG and Immortals, where we're even at one game apiece. Two pretty interesting games back and forth there, but Immortals definitely answering after kind of a shaky game one.
Absolutely, and NRG stepped up in a lot of big ways from the first week, whereas Immortals doesn't look as dominant as they did in the last split. But one person who did look very dominant in the last game was definitely Pobelter, who, as the analyst desk talked about, was player of the game on Twisted Fate. He created so much for that team in the last game. He kept everyone kind of afloat when he was holding mid lane as the other two side lanes were catching up, and was just a top performer from start to finish of that game.
Yep, Pobelter looking absolutely awesome, but again, we kind of looked at the problems from week one. It does feel like OQ's Caitlyn not so good there. His Twitch, amazing. No questions there at all.
Yeah.
But it gets banned away, and OQ's like, what?
Which is really surprising because you think of Okyu, who was this super hype, really Korean prodigy AD carry, top 3 AD carry. Everyone was waiting for him to become a superstar. Jumps over to NA Challenger. You think he's going to be, with his mechanical skill, this really aggressive, great team fighter. But his team fighting on Caitlyn is below average right now, and he just needs to have like a more aggressive mindset, or even just be better at juking skill shots on such a long-range champion who should technically have a little bit more time to see them coming. But once again, those team fights were not good for him on Caitlyn.
No, and again, it's been OQ that's sort of been, like, not to pick on the guy, he's a great player, certainly, but I think he will develop a lot as the split goes on, because it feels like every time, especially with the drafts, NRG are picking for themselves. They're giving Quas the tank most of the time. It's Maokai Echo pretty much always for this guy so far, even though Maokai's got changed. And that means, again, GBM and OQ need to do work here from the carry position. And when only GBM's trying to do work, things fall flat real quick.
And I think Azale hit the nail on the head as far as GBM's champion pool so far this split. When he's on those high damage champions like Victor, Vladimir, or Gangplank, who just DPS throughout the fight, he's really good at just kind of always getting off his damage combo. But when he has to make those like single point of failure / point of success champions like the Lissandra, he hasn't been nearly as successful. So in order for him to be like a DPS champion, he needs to be on a champion that can do damage over a long period of time rather than just that one first
shot. And I felt like he was still playing a very similar way. He's an aggressive mid laner, certainly, so he's trying to get that going for him. But I agree. I think if GBM's going to be a big carry, he's always talked a big game, certainly. I think maybe just stick to what works here. So we'll see if there are changes here for our final game between these two teams. NRG and Immortals will do battle one more time here for week number 2. And so far, so good on the bans. Both Ashe and Kindred going to be taken away.
Yeah, and we do talk about how the team that loses needs to be the ones that adapt here. We've seen 2 Aurelia games in a row from Huni, but hasn't been successful. Don't necessarily think that should drop off. Maybe we end up seeing a Soraka ban. I am shocked that they banned Lissandra based on how ineffective that was for GBM in the last game. Maybe they're just scared of Immortals' ability to play it.
Yeah, seems like it, because they banned it away from them in game 1, then took it, I guess, in the second one.
Yeah. When I said I was shocked, for some reason I was switched around. I was like, why would Immortals ban Lissandra? With NRG banning Lissandra, I actually am not as shocked about. They still are fearful of Immortals' ability to make that single decision and win a team fight.
This is actually looking almost identical to the bans from game number 1. Sides, of course, are the same, I believe, from that same game. But Twisted Fate will be an adaptation here for NRG, which, yeah.
Yay,
I like that one.
Adjustment. Woohoo, they did it. Also, we have to remember that NRG is blue side again. They won their first game on blue side. I do like the Twitch ban from Immortals, but the interesting thing here is the man we see on our screen, Swain.
Swain's open.
Could we see a Swain?
You can see he's deeply thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, this is Quas's expression, whether he's excited, sad.
Hey. I think he's going to do the thing.
Yeah, they're hovering it. I mean, not with Vladimir up.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I'll take that instead.
Whoops-a-daisy. Immortals throws in a Nidalee ban with Vladimir up. I feel like they should have been willing to trade one of those champions, but GBM's doing pretty good on Vladimir.
Yep.
GBM gets to play Vladimir if he wants to. This is, things are looking up.
Part of me really wants Immortals to give them Swain as well and just see if Quas takes the bait. Maybe they'll play double AP with Swain, but we'll see what Immortals pick here.
That composition is super beast. We've seen a couple teams gravitate towards trying to get both those champions. The trick, if they end up doing a Swain-Vladimir composition, is that they bring enough utility and CC from the other roles. A lot of times you want to see it with something like Ashe, which is unfortunately banned because that can be a hard initiation. We saw the Rocks Tigers do it in Korea with a Sivir and a Karma, which didn't necessarily work because while they had the speed, they didn't have any sticking power. I think it's possible that they go for it because it holds a lot of power.
It's open. Zyra and Rex are actually the picks for Immortals, so pretty much taking away the utility that NRG have shown all throughout their series. Rainova, good to see him back on, certainly a signature pick for him. And Adrian, he's always been one to play, you know, a lot of range supports, be a little bit different in his personal champion pool. Kiwi Kid's shown in 2 games despite the loss. that Zyra's a champion to be feared, Adrian's going to say, you know what, I agree with you, Kiwi. Play something else. I'm taking a champion.
I agree. Also, like, Kiwi Kid still could play Alistar, but it's pretty daunting in lane to play Alistar against something like that. Still plenty of supports available. Karma has been one of the most picked supports in North America as well as Europe. And we were speaking of things that you can use for initiation if you do want to go with something like Vladimir and Swain. Those are two champions that can kind of help.
Yep.
It's going to be really hard, though, to run at them through a Zyra.
Yep, Karma Siva looking good, but there's Aurelia and Caitlyn actually for Wild Total. So dropping to a different pick here. Does not take the utility AD carry this time. I guess with Siva taken away, that makes sense. But played the reverse matchup that OQ played in Game 2.
Yeah, we'll see if they can get more of an advantage here since they have the range in both the Caitlyn and the Zyra. Maybe that's just heralding a lane swap because we know those champions are just really, really good in the series.
Yeah, again, Immortals have been on the receiving end for the series. They'll swap over, so I like this adaptation as well. NRG, though, do you need to pick?
Come on, give us Swain.
Give us the Swain. You mentioned sticking power. I think I agree that they'll want some sort of good CC and initiation in their draft. But maybe Gragas can fix that from the jungle, which would leave Swain open. That's not Swain.
That is not a Swain. That is
that's
far too tree-like to be Swain. Swain has been nerfed as well. They
Yeah,
want the
that's
initiation.
true.
The Maokai has been working for them, specifically in the Aurelia matchup. Like, Kwasi's falling behind on CS, but it hasn't, in my opinion, been game deciding anyway. And, woo,
All right,
that's
so
cool.
We've seen this kind of pick already, as we do have the teams round out their draft. Pobelter takes Anivia into Vladimir, which I think Froggen did already.
Yeah, Anivia was nerfed. So
Yes.
the mana costs were super low on patch 6.10, have been increased a little bit for patch 6.11. Still a very strong pick. Not bad into Vladimir since like neither of these guys are going to be able to burst each other. And Anivia is another champion who's really hard to run at with Sivir and Karma because the wall and all the slows and the stun that you can throw from Anivia are really difficult to get through. So I like how Immortals is kind of taking some of the counter engage that NRG used to beat them the first game when they were up against the Sivir and Karma and using it against them.
Yep.
Zyra and Anivia are going to be really hard for NRG to engage on.
Feels like they've, said, you know what, we've played 2 Sivir comps. We lost one game, 1-1. We kind of feel like we understand the strengths and weaknesses of the composition well. Really clever last pick, I think, from Immortals. We'll see if Pobelter can live up to the hype from Game 2 on the Twisted Fate. The coaches are going to shake hands. Really interesting drafts all series long, I will say, so I'm curious to see how this one works out.
Yeah, and people love to criticize things about Pobelter. One thing you cannot criticize about him is his champion pool. That dude plays everything. So if you have a counter pick you want to line up for him, whether it's an assassin, a mage, really any play style, he can play it, which is why I really like them having this side on this map. That's just the way it falls, and the Nivy was a good pick.
Well, it's looking good, but one more time, send us your predictions using the hashtags IMT win or NRG win. It's pronounced energy, apparently, but NRG is the spelling of the team. Don't worry too much, though. We're going to get in the game. That's
I
what
feel
really
like
counts.
the pronunciations are very close. Energy, NRG.
I get it.
Can you tell what
I
I was
get the
trying to
idea.
say when I said it twice in a row? Did I just say the same thing twice? No one knows. It's a pronunciation.
Well, what I do know, Jat, is that we're under the roof for game number 3 between these two sides. It's been a great BO3 so far. We'll see which of these teams are going to either pick up their 3rd straight match win of the LCS, or if NRG can finally get a win on the board and get things going, because they've looked a whole lot better already. Bringing Immortals to 3 games is an achievement in and of itself, but it's even nicer to beat them.
Yeah. And as teams adjust to this best-of-3 format, it's good practice for high-pressure games. Because at the end of the season, the only thing your game score is going to matter for is a tiebreaker. And that's if you already don't have head-to-head breaking that tiebreaker. So it's like way down the list of importance. What really matters is if you win 2 games in the series. Doesn't matter how many you lose. And it's going to be a really big confidence builder if NRG can end up winning this one. And for Immortals, I think that'll be a decent blow. Like, this is a game they walked in and were just expected to win easily. It already hasn't been easy, but they can at least salvage a victory out of it if they take this game.
Certainly been pushed a little bit more than maybe they expected. Best of 3 formats, though, have shown that has not really shaken Immortals as far as their overall level of play goes. And you can see, looks like both teams lining up for the double blind swap, which pretty much means we'll invert those standard lanes. As we have a check-in with the Keystone Masteries. Nothing super surprising, but always nice to see what the teams are looking at.
Yep, not the Storm Raiders Vladimir, but instead the Strength of Ages Vladimir. Kiwi Kid getting pretty bold here.
Uh-oh. Ignite down. Good damage on Kiwi Kid, yep. Peace. You're out of the lane.
That was actually a really cute play by Immortals right there. because you were expecting them to take advantage of Zyra's plants and crush the Krugs. So Kiwi Kid was actually trying to sneak in through the back of the jungle and probably throw an empowered Q over the wall to steal a last hit and take the level 2 away. But instead, Immortals just waited for him, knowing that could potentially be a counterplay, and nearly got a kill. So I really do have to credit the Immortals for the smarts to kind of be one step ahead of the level 1 mind game.
And it has felt like in the 2v2s, which we are going to get another one here just in the top lane, instead of your usual bottom lane, feels like, well, Turtle and Adrian have been a bit behind in that standard matchup. So now on the offensive side of the matchup, I suppose, we'll see if they can really make some headway. Because Turtle, if he can get aggressive, he will, as Pobota gets great poke down onto GBM.
Yeah, the matchup will be very swingy based on whether or not OQ gets time to ricochet the wave and shove it in. Because if a Silver Lane ever gets Supremacy, you can just keep it shoved into the turret over and over again. Based on seeing this matchup a few times already, I don't think that should happen. But, you know, different players play different champions differently. Who would have thunk? And NRG actually shoving them in early.
Yeah, strong poke there. It's actually kind of winning them the early stages of the lane. But Rainover, this is normally reserved for Huni.
Was it all a ruse? Did they want to get shoved in? Here's the gank.
Yeah, Kiwi Kid in trouble. Heal flash is good, but now OQ forced to flash out as well.
Whoa!
Flash, knock up there onto Kiwi Kid. Tries to secure that kill. And Rainover goes absolutely crazy. Kiwi Kid lives.
I don't think Immortals expected that route to land. And then it was a late decision by Rainover to flash in on it, which just couldn't be immediately followed by Wild Turtle. So they miss out on what could have been a kill and end up actually using 2 summoner spells on that early gank. Speaking of which, Santorin again an early gank on a Huni.
Yep, Quas gonna lock him up with Twisted Advance. Pop back there with the body slams. Enough for first blood. Santorin again, making it look good.
Yeah.
Ganking for Quas.
Frowny face by Huni. Oh man, I love it when player cams line up with how his emotion should actually be in the moment. Huni very sad after that last gank, but he'll bounce back. He's still up in CS and can teleport back into the lane. It's gotta hurt to get first blooded twice in a row by Santorin in this series, but it has happened, and he's playing too aggressive and not respecting the early ganks enough.
Yep, Santorin playing for those tendencies has had 2 great first blood ganks in a row in games 2 and 3. Rainover though, gonna take his jungle, so at least a win there for the Immortals jungler. Still get a little bit ahead here, but Greg is still keeping up as we return back to this top side. NRG's bottom lane now nice and healthy after their recall.
Yeah, so just a whole bunch of summoners used in that duo lane. And I'm also really curious about whether Huni's going to get ganked again. If he tries to get aggressive whatsoever, that gank by Santorin did not have to burn flash. And we've talked about this a bunch with the Gragas having his flash up. When he burns the flash on a lane that he can gank, like the ganks just become so easy. But that will also require Huni to push up a little bit.
GBN right now definitely pushing his lane, so mid lane probably not the target they want. Quas also sort of pushing this one up. Huni actually managing to keep this wave back a little further forward, but it'll move towards that turret unless he wants to take a pretty significant amount of damage. Looks like he does, at least for now. Pulls it back a bit. Very nicely done.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to call it luck that the wave is always in his favor, but it is
there it is!
After dying. But it's on a lane that has flash!
Flash body slam. Pobelta gonna get taken out. He's egged. But he's safe. Rainover's here as well. Oh no! That's not what you want at all. GBM going back in for it. GBM's in the tower. He actually gets Pobelta, and Safeway pulls out of the way.
You devil, GBM. Right. Okay, so he burns.
He's a genius.
It was a beautiful flash by Santorin to get in there. GBM, he's good at Vladimir. Let's say that. He really understands his damage on that champion. They're able to burn through the egg from Pobelta despite Rainover going in for the save. And Quas is pushed up a little bit too far here.
I know your jungler's not here this time, says Huni, and Quas gonna get chased down. Maybe one more auto after this one. And Q's not up. Quas maybe could have actually got a kill there, but didn't want to risk it.
Yeah, that would have been really bold. If he tried to Twisted Advance Huni in the turret right there and maybe get an auto attack off to heal himself up. Yeah, so as the gank happened in the mid lane, we were talking about the wave manipulation that Huni had accomplished. When that gank happened, his wave was pushed into the turret, and then actually Quas wasn't able to get back to it in time, so it ended up kind of bouncing all the way to Huni's turret, which has allowed him to pick up a CS advantage at level 6 first. But here is the return gank.
Yep, no flash this time, but maybe not needed. Huni and Quas gonna fight it out. Huni actually maybe turns it around. He will.
Oh,
and now Rainover is here. This could be maybe another onto Santorin. Knock-up's good. Rainover's going to move in for it, but the TP will be used.
GBM has
Surprise!
flash.
It's GBM. He's on to Rainover. Q's going to land in. Crimson Rush going to proc soon. He's got the Hemoplague. Sanguine pulls in a Rainover. Humbaras and tries to fight him, but GBM collects it.
Yeah, note that he's gone flash teleport here instead of ghost flash, so a little bit different on the way he's playing this one, and maybe it was because of the focus he was expecting down into this lane. This teleport from Quas comes back in lane. He doesn't actually wait to heal up to full from base because he didn't want to lose too many last hits, and that extra 100 health he could have gained if he stuck around base a little longer could have actually been the difference in this fight, because he comes back, takes a ton of minion fire, and then instead of running back towards his creeps, actually runs towards Immortals' side, which makes Rainover support come even easier. So I think a number of misplays by Quas in the approach to that gank, outside of the fact that he was down a level as well as Santorin being down a level. But GBM is able to salvage it when he comes in with teleport and gets the kill on the Rainover.
We talked about the Vlad. It's looked really good for GBM pretty much every time he gets it. He's 2-0 now. Potentially looking to put energy right on his shoulders and carry them through this final game versus Immortals. Spirit Visage first will be the build once again. Pobelter rocking that tier and a blue buff. So things going well for the Anivia. But we've seen it already. 3-1 up for energy in kills. Again, the gold lead's not too big for them, but they're applying the early pressure. Again, my question's always going to be, can they convert this into the mid game? Because we've seen they certainly can get ahead early and maybe pull it back mid to late, but I'd like to see them just take the momentum they've already got and just start running.
Yep, and also how are the compositions going to interact when NRG tries to turn the go button, and if Immortals can stop it with the Anivia and the Zyra, which are so hard to initiate on. Not to mention this matchup, which is now the third time we've seen exactly the same champions. Huni seems to always pull ahead in CS, but can't really take over the game. Will that happen eventually? Santorin got a jump on Pobelter, but GBM isn't very close.
Here is not the tankiest of champions. Santorin uses the ulti, but Flash Ross actually misses the result. GBM's over. Pobelter doesn't have agony. He is going to fall to GBM. His third kill now as Rainover will get chased down. I don't think they fancy a Tara tie, but Huni does.
Boy.
Gets a solo kill.
Take that, Triple Thorns build, says Huni. He'd had the kill before, so he gets his Sheet and his longsword very early. It's the most offensive build Huni could go at this stage in the game. And yeah, maybe Quas just gets a little too aggressive. It was close to being a solo kill early on in the game. He converts this time. Both flashes burn in the bottom lane when that kill happens, and that's trouble for Quas.
Certainly is. As Huni finally, I think, learning the matchup perhaps. So let's see how this actually happened.
Yeah, he'd already been first blood in this game, so he hides in the brush, actually. Quas probably thought Huni was back in base, and he's still just kind of CSing, so not fully threatening. Hits level 7, which will give him yet another point into his Equilibrium strike, actually. He's maxing that, so that's the large amount of burst he put on him there. And then he just ran into the turret and finished him off.
Yeah, managed to get the kill there, but Adrian exhausted in the top side. Kiwi Kid low, though, as the Immortals might fend this off 2v3, excuse me. Santorin getting in a spot of bother, but no conversion there for Immortals, who definitely fend that off, I'll say. In fact, Huni's here looking for a dive.
When he teleported, he's looking to go off.
Well, Pobelter's here as well. Can they cut them off? Santorin body blocks them in. Now going to dive in for OQ. Huni going for the really juicy target, but Pobelter snipes Kiwi Kid with an icicle.
Yeah, Huni actually jumps on the tank, and he's like, well, I'm here now, let's fight. It is enough to get one kill, but they can't secure another, so I feel like that could have been a lot scarier than it actually was. And Huni ends up burning his teleport for just one kill, and Quas can shove the bottom lane a little bit.
Yep, Energy looking good there on the defense, despite one dropping, but Immortals are going to see if they can't convert for a turret here as well. Might even stay a little longer. One plant tanks it up, two plants tank it up. We'll cast him in the back, being a hero. Another wave's in. Immortals looks like they will be able to take their first turret of this game, taking out that top outer.
Yep, so we already thought that the Caitlyn was going to be a favorable matchup, but I don't want to credit the turret kill to the matchup. They had chipped it away a little bit in the laning phase, but it's mainly the counter engage they actually gave on the gank that Santorin did that set up that entire play. Gragas is going to back off that gank. By the way, we're going to see the replay here. Really, the Zyra ult, you can see how hard that is to move around. Energy actually passed sideways out of that and just into a whole bunch of damage from Turtle as well. That just cues the teleport. The gank, like a total failure. Santorin ganked with very low mana and no ultimate. Thought maybe it would be easy. Nice stun there, and Huni was definitely trying to secure 2 kills.
Yep.
I think they knew they had the kill on the Kiwi Kid, so he tried to burst OQ, and he burned his summoner spells, and then they easily picked up the kill on the backside.
Well, certainly good play from Immortals as Huni, a creative teleport, converts into a kill with a bit of help from Pobelter. Also, he's going Rod of Ages after tier, so definitely stacking that mana up. Santorin, in the meantime, hanging out in the brush, gets spotted. Now has to back out. In fact, Tremor Sensor's got him as well, so Rainover Level 8 there to the level 7 of Gragas, although Gragas is slightly up in CS. Once again, Reignover's control on this champion never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, that CS difference is gargantuan.
I misread the first number of Centurion CS. Never mind.
Yeah,
I thought that was a 7. That's a 3.
You just made me look down at the CS. It's like, yeah, 72 CS on Rek'Sai. That'll do it. He's also gone very vision-centric, so he's moving around the map very quickly. And then because of his farm, he's going to have the vision as well as the tankiness later. So in that sense, the build will work. What Reignover does a lot of times when enemy junglers try and gank is he will just go and farm their jungle and get vision down, which is a very punishing style as long as your laners don't tilt off of ganks or in very tilty matchups. In this sense, like, Maokai's never really going to take over against an Aurelia, so that is okay. The only worry would be that GBM gets going too much, which has been the main benefits of the early ganks from Santorin. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on how that one plays out, because GBM absolutely has the chance of carrying them.
Yep, and again, 12.5 minutes in, still pretty early. We've actually swapped the duo lanes back down to the bottom half of the map, so we'll have those 2v2s continue as Immortals still have the only turret in this particular game. It does feel, though, as the Reignover's actually going to check in for this blue buff. Maybe just takes it out from under Santorin. That's awfully rude.
Oh!
And Santorin gets it with the barrel. Slightly mistimed there by Reignover.
Smart by Santorin to leave the barrel as well. You never know when a jungler is invading if he has his smite up. Reignover didn't. So Santorin just gets the max damage barrel, waits a few seconds. Easy. All planned.
Well, 2v2 continues, but like we said, it feels like the consistent elements of both these teams are sort of firing this game around. GBM 3-0-0, Spirit Visage done, building in towards that second item, which looks to be the Zhonya's again. But again, the same combo that's always worked for Immortals, or even before that, Huni and Reignover still off to a good start. Huni at 2-1-1. We'll see if which of these sections of these teams can maybe carry it through.
And this is what we expected from the series. It's just the first game where it's actually manifested truly as GBM currently the sole carry versus Huni and Reignover carrying as well. And we've seen some different gold distributions in the past. And like at the moment, based on what I know of Vladimir, like when Vladimir gets ahead, he's the omni carry at the moment. It's just the tankiness as well as the damage to go into the backline. The only fear will be that he can get peeled too heavily by the Anivia and the Zyra, and while he will be able to go in, the rest of his team may not be able to follow, and I think that could be the breaking point in this game.
Looks like Huni and Quas going to have another battle, but Huni definitely still winning. Trinity Force is there, and Quas is starting to take significant damage despite all of the health and early combat stats he has on this Maokai. Again, I think he's kept up reasonably well in CS this time around, but Huni is making this look so difficult. And to add that solo kill in there as well, Quas just has to hold on again. We've pretty much seen it in the series already.
Yeah, and we got to see how they can keep track of Huni. They know he's in the jungle somewhere. GBM's actually hunting for him.
I think he knows.
He knows that hits.
Yep, Equilibrium Strike there. That's a stun. GBM going to chase in. No Rylai's, unfortunately, so Aurelia just walks away from that one. Cobalts are going to push that wave in. GBM, though, continuing to farm. He just does not care right now.
No, he does not. But with his invade in the jungle, Reignover immediately trying to take a buff away. This time he gets it.
Fires of a Prey Seeker.
Yeah, I like the way Reignover's playing this game. Even though he hasn't had much gank presence, his ability to counter jungle is keeping Santorin back. And Gragas already has scaling issues as he gets items, but he's going to run into some even bigger ones here. Teleport in from behind.
Yeah, pretty deep TP. It's GBM. Going to look in for maybe Adrian. Does put the Hemiplex down to do. Flashes in. Exhausted onto Turtle as well. He's getting blown to pieces almost. GBM actually gets the kill on the back end of the fight. Oku is barely going to live as well. And now Reignover the next target. Kiwiki going to try and chase him down, but Pobelter's arrived. Santorin in a bit of bother as Huni's also down here. This is a pretty chaotic fight. GBM also going to get chased down there. Gets ignited, and Huni's just trying to play cleanup. Look for the reset. Wants one, but he wants GBM and gets knocked back by Santorin. Staring there for Karma's going to lock down Huni out of the turret, and he will die. Santorin also going to go down. And a messy, messy fight.
Yeah, so many things happen right there. It was actually an attempted double teleport for NRG, but Huni was able to interrupt Quas's teleport and stop him from arriving. Then Huni could wander off and teleport in later to the fight. But once he does teleport in, he actually doesn't execute a very clean combo. I thought he was just going to kill OQ right off the bat and then try and make his escape. That didn't happen. All things considered, though, Immortals walk away with the advantage.
Yep, I'll take the turret as well. So a 2-for-2 trade on kills, I believe, but a turret up for Immortals will give them a decent bit of pressure here. Still only have the 2 turrets in that game, as we'll watch this one again.
Yeah, both teleports being channeled. Flash was used by Huni to stop this as well. So GBM goes in, and I mean, just on his own, because OQ also supported with a lot of damage, is awesome. But then look at those Thorn Spitters actually slowing GBM from chasing down Rainover, and then Santorin comes in from the side through all that stuff and really doesn't do anything. So now the chance for Immortals to turn it around is real because Huni's teleported in. OQ actually has to cancel his recall, and Huni decides to go in maybe just to finish off GBM and keep the fight a little bit more controlled, but he gets locked down. 2 kills end up going over on the back end of the fight, and because the turret was taken at the very end, it's advantage Immortals, and they're actually opening up a pretty substantial gold lead because of their farm advantage.
Again, Immortals always seem to find a way to, when they're losing, lose less, and when they're winning, win a whole lot more than every other team. 3K up's looking good as GBM and Adrian going to have a battle. GBM certainly fancies his chances, but Adrian's going to back away from that one. Looks like Wild Total has gone that Hurricane BF Soul build that we didn't see from OQ in the last game. Caitlyn does need to kind of get the scaling going, but Total, as always, just creeps out to be a big carry for the team, and he's set up to really have a good late game.
I definitely like that build more, especially when you consider how much Immortals prioritizes wave clear. The Hurricane BF Sword is just going to be better in those situations, and even better in team fights if you're able to hit multiple targets.
Rift Herald for Immortals would give Huni that advantage he loves. Didn't win with it in game 1, but looks like he'll take the buff if it's presented to him, and they will be able to claim it.
Yeah. And keep in mind, he will now have this empowerment until nearly 38 minutes into the game. That's the most underrated part of this buff, is you don't necessarily think it's like that powerful, but you get it for 20 minutes. The deferred power is still pretty massive cumulatively.
Mid-pan push though, as Huni back to split pushing in that top half of the map with the Glimpse of the Void. OQ though, just taking out these minions. Again, everyone seems to be on mid lane wave clear Sivir duty whenever the champion gets picked. But given that GBM's busy down the bottom lane and does have TP, although it's not up yet, he can also apply some side lane pressure, which I think plays into maybe another element that NRG can use in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also am a little curious why there's been such a low priority of Dragon on this game. Nearly 19 minutes in. Cloud Drake is the first one up. Oh boy.
We get juking out. Pobelta still firing right with the auto attacks, but he'll stay safe and out. Does have Egg as well, so probably not too worried at this point.
Yeah, it does have to respect him though, obviously. Kiwi Kid has to give mutual respect. Either one of them could probably have a pretty significant hand in killing the other. But that Anivia wave clear beginning to overpower right now.
Yep, time to start another siege. Immortals really equipped well. Try and get this down. Much like NRG's comp in game 2. But they don't finish the turret that time around. Santorin body slams out of the way from the grasping roots, and Immortals have to back.
Yeah, and they really need to back because the double TP is up once again for NRG, so the fear of a double teleport flank is very real, and that's how you stop the long-term Anivia sieges. You can see the work was being done by Immortals a little bit because they can clear the way faster, move into the turret, use a wall to threaten OQ, and then get turret damage down, but...
Almost take out Kiwi Kid, ace in the hole! Blocked by OQ. Even use the heal as well, just to make sure.
A little bit too much. That burst just seemed to come out of nowhere. Adrian just landed the roots, and they're able to follow up a large amount of damage.
Welcome to Zyra.
Yeah, really...
Caitlyn headshots.
Really seeing the power of those two working together.
It's crazy. It's almost like...
She has like one magic pin.
Oh yeah, no, champion's silly. But it's funny to see that Kiwi Kid's like, hey guys, I think this is pretty good. Ate a few bans like early on in the split, and then all of a sudden Adrian's like, I've played against this for 2 games.
Yeah.
Seems pretty good.
Do it.
I'll take it.
Once again, this is how Immortals earns the meta. They're just like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, we'll do it too.
Unfortunately, don't get enough information in scrims as Huni investigating. Does get chased up by a sapling, but again, he's got full control of this pretty much top half of the map, actually. 2-2 and 2, go on the same build we've seen every single game so far with Frozen Mallet coming up second. See what pressure he can apply in that top lane as NRG try and answer with a counter push in mid.
Oh, rain over in the back. Pobelta caught.
Yep, good ulti there from Santorin's going to get him back into the team. Pobelta getting low, but is Egg now? Huni going to come back in, but gets exhausted as soon as he comes down. But Huni's still fighting. Egg's there, but Pobelta, he's going to live to it for a little while longer and almost snipes Kiwi Kid. Instead, he does get shut down, and now Huni getting chased in. Santorin, big damage on the front side, knocks up 2 with the belly bop. And that's it, just the 1 kill.
Yeah, with such an initiation, kind of surprising that they only get 1. GBM was a little slow getting into the fight, and then the damage on the Anivia egg was really lackluster as they were all confused with the rest of the fight. They're looking to continue this push.
GBM!
Oh, man.
Taken out by Turtle. Now Rainover going to try and move Quas in as well. Damage is there, but Huni's going to take him out. Surfs with complete style under that turret. And a huge misstep by NRG.
Yep, GBM just thought he was going to lifesteal up really quickly, but he burns his health by casting a Z. Doesn't pop his zonies because Rainover gets him with a surprise. What a timely unburrow right there. And OQ just sitting on the Essence Reaver, not a substantial contributor to these team fights yet. So many people sitting low on Immortals. You really want to see the Sivir just kind of walk up, get one ricochet off, but it hasn't happened. And yeah, Pobelter goes up for a wall. A reactive teleport from Huni. GBM is already walking in from behind because he teleported in for the play. But like, OQ is just not really doing that much damage. He's very fearful of Huni diving on him for good reason because it's a Trinity Force Jarom's Fist Aurelia. And then the fight continues with energy being really low. GBM just gets a little greedy with his life steal.
Yeah, you talked about it already. It's kind of tricky to walk through Anivia Zyra zones, and I think that's a lot of what OQ's struggling with on the fairly short-range Sivir. Pobelter does get the turret as we pop again after the replay, so 3 turrets to 0 still. NRG aren't just kind of running out of ways to get in on the team, they're actually running out of space to play on this map, and I think this is really where Huni, especially with that Rift Tower buff, can start to shine, because he's tried to split push every single game on the same champion with Aurelia. But when the map is this constricted for energy and this open for Immortals, Huni has a field day in these situations.
Yeah, and he's the sole teleport on Immortals as well, so it's going to be a little bit trickier for him to get both GBM and Quas down in the 1v1s, but I think he should definitely be going for it because that's where Immortals can hold the edge in this game.
Well, Dragon over to NRG, so they'll pick up the Cloud Drake for themselves. Very late, like you mentioned, 23 minutes in and we finally get it, but look at Wild Turtle on a solo adventure as the rest of the team will join.
Yeah, meanwhile, GBM doesn't have teleport, and he's already going over to another wave to push, so this is an uncontestable turret.
Very nice little rotation there from Immortals. Now 4 turrets to 0. And Energy is starting to fall a little too far behind in this game. The gold lead again from Immortals just balloons so quickly as they rotate swiftly around the map. 6k up at 23.5 minutes. And nary a Cloud Drake to speak of.
Yep. A little bit of move speed that Energy is going to be able to have.
Well, GBM show seems to be back. Does take the turret up in bottom lane, but he has a whole lot of work to do if the team's going to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. At least he'll be faster, especially if he can control the next Cloud Drake. Second one's coming through. It's the waves that Energy have to get under control, and they just do not have the ability to get in on that mid lane. Like, it's either a Hurricane Caitlyn that's there, or it's an Anivia who's built 3 mana items. Like, Pobelter's never going to run out of mana in that mid lane unless he's really wasteful with his Glacial Storm. And it's going to be really difficult for Energy to crack any type of thing, especially when you consider when they try and initiate, they're going up against Anivia and Zyra. So even though Immortals is kind of a team that you'd like to think of being like super decisive and really goes in, they don't have to right now.
No.
They actually just kind of have to continue playing this wave clear game and continue to scale up.
I think the Immortals macro game is underrated, perhaps, given how many highlight plays the team likes to make, but they certainly are capable of playing the map, and they're showing it actually a lot in the start of summer. Yeah, this game is no exception.
I think Immortals macro game could actually be the strongest part of their game. Like, the wave manipulation is so unnoticed, but they probably do it better than anyone else. Across the board, I think that starts with Rainover. He's always outpacing the enemy jungler, and it allows his lanes to stay aggressive.
See, that's true here as Huni dives in onto Quas. Quas again. This is struggle street for Paul Malco, who just has no items.
Yeah, he does have his teleport up if he really needed it, but Huni really loves that Frozen Mallet build. I wonder if there is something he could have built that let him win these one.
Oh, hello. Rainover gonna get out of that. Buffer tunnel gets him through it. Zyra ulti gonna zone them out. I'm actually very surprised Rainover lived through all that, but somehow runs the gauntlet and escapes.
A really dangerous path for him to walk, but it just, Energy wasn't willing to pull the trigger because they didn't have any of their soul inners there.
GBM is though. Here we go, but Huni's going to try and turn it around. Pobelter flashes out and barely lives, but now Huni might die as Quas is TP'd in. Huge blade surge to the Raptor, and Immortals get away.
But they do have to burn a lot to get in on that. Huni uses his teleport, and GBM shows his strength right there. Like, he's going to be the one who's trying to carry him, nearly soloing out Pobelter. Doesn't even have to use his flash, so I would have loved to see the start of that one. And now Energy's going to try and posture around the Baron a little bit, maybe even go for it.
Seen this dance already.
I mean, there's 2 people on Immortals that are back in base, so Rainover going to have to be really bold with his disruption here.
No TP from either of them as well. Now that's going to pull the ulti and go for it. Adrian, huge grasping roots to disengage the fight, but GBM's in. They've got Adrian. That's an easy kill for OQ, as now the TP's in for Immortals. Rainover into the backline trying to be disruptive, but Quas Now caught out as well, perhaps ran over there too low. He's going to fall on the front lines as Oki gets himself a double. Huni exhausted in the front side as Immortals still pushing forward. Huni just wants to clean up. He'll shut down Oku. Pick up that one. Now GBM going to get ulted out by Kalen. It's not enough to kill him as he heals out from under it. But Santorin's getting chased in the backside. NRG Esports getting away on the right, but Immortals do stop the Baron, get themselves a double. And GBM, ooh, that wall.
Yeah, really
Not
close
quite
to
there.
being able to catch him off, and maybe he's just going to be able to go hide and recall as Immortals is pinging on the Baron. You can see NRG's thought process, right? They've been able to win one game by forcing Baron. They still have the Sivir and Vladimir, and they also know the Zyra ultimate is down, so really key for them to go straight to Adrian, but the Grasping Roost delays, and no one else commits super hard while this is happening, and they're waiting for the Anivia and the Aurelia to arrive, and by the time Huni's going in deep, everyone is actually here for Immortals, and you get to see the gold bead of Immortals have take shape a little bit. The wall wasn't perfect from Anivia, but was good enough that they get a lot of damage down, and GBM just jukes out from that one shot at the end, and Huni very strong. Looks like they can get the Baron.
Yep, as we pop back in, it's an easy Baron. Now Quartz caught on the front line, taking damage, a little too low. Does Twisted Advance away, but Adrian's going to collect credit for that kill. Now GBM going down as well. Pobelta able to claim the second. Immortals with Baron now 5v3, and Huni straight into the back line. Rainover chasing as well. Immortals, how frisky are we feeling?
Yeah, tale of two teams right there. GBM tries to be a hero, whereas when Immortals disrupted the Baron, they did it as a team. I don't think that Baron was contestable, but it was kind of a desperation move for NRG to try and stop this. Now that they've lost both soul laners against a Baron team, Immortals is going to take a whole bunch of hits.
Huge drop from Santorin, but Rainover pretty tanky. Huni not so lucky though, tanking the tower for too long, as the tower will fall there to Wild Turtle. Immortals don't get greedy, they'll back away from the area.
Yeah, just as I say, Immortals is playing great as a team, they try to go in without minions, and Huni ends up dying, so they respectfully back away. But the important thing is they killed the inhibitor turret as well as secured the Baron to give themselves an even larger advantage in this game.
Well, GBM's back up with the TP as we'll watch this again. Huni able to start this off. Baron's already there and Immortals just go straight in.
Yeah, nice wall there to cut off Quas, but Quas didn't have any business being there when Sivir is so far away from the fight as well as Santorin. And then GBM has done that before. Like, he's been able to 1v4 a team on Vladimir, but just not necessarily this team. Still looking for some healing reduction to come in from Immortals outside of the Ignite. That last fight, it was actually Adrian's Ignite that had gone down on a GBM to stop his healing, so in the short term it was able to stop him, but I want to see Executioner's Calling coming up from Wild Turtles next time.
I think it's the fourth item, because feels like after Rapid Fire, that's exactly where he wants to be. Plus he's going to need to cut down some of Quas's armor at least, and actually the Frozen Heart of Santorin as well, so I like everything that Immortals got going so far. Do need to pressure some of these side lanes though. Seen their wave control really come up trumps in a whole host of games this series. No exception, but they do have this to work on, I guess, first. They'll take the easy pickings.
Yep.
Mid inhibitor looking pretty
Huni's
tasty.
actually behind GBM. GBM was trying to flank right there, and it is not going well.
Nope. Does pop the zone. He's invulnerable for now, but I think going to get walled off. He's going to get knocked up, and that's a kill. Immortals again with a power play.
Yeah, really greedy move there by GBM. He tried to sneak out the base gate, but very easily gets spotted out by Immortals. Obviously, they're trying to find creative ways of getting through the Anivia and the Zyra, but that one just really did not work, and he gives up the inhibitor.
Yeah, we talked about GBM, who is the member that was getting going 4-0-0 at one point in this game. Been the big carry for the team. OQ again, the question has to remain. He's had a few good fights on Sivir this game, but when the team doesn't fight together, it's just so hard for GBM to be that one-man band, and Immortals are playing much cleaner and much more together with a really clever composition.
Exactly. They gave away the first pick Vladimir once again, but with the Zyra and the Anivia, they're making it much more difficult for all of NRG to follow up with the Vladimir. So even though GBM sometimes gets involved, if he has been involved fully in a team fight, Immortals has eliminated the rest of the team from the fight there, and it's been much more effective.
Immortals still on the siege though. 3 members strong with the Baron buff ready to go. This tier 2 is probably not defendable, so NRG will gift them that one away as GBM's ready to meet the creep wave as it pushes forward. People going back though, time to spend some money. Only have one inhibitor down so far in mid lane. Clouddrake's actually up as well, so Turtle gonna go ahead and solo that one up.
Yeah, easy takings. Did you know Clouddrake has a faster attack speed than any other of the dragons?
I did not know that.
Apparently, like, clouds attack fast or something. The mountain is the slowest attacking one and also has more health and armor. Easiest to solo though because it does such little damage. It's interesting.
Oh yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
Flavor-wise, kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I think there was like the beginnings of a really cool idea there, and then it's like, oh yeah, he attacks faster. We did it. The rest of the Dragons I really enjoy. Aside from that, do not mean to criticize at all.
Well, so it goes over to Immortals nonetheless. And Dragon's certainly not been the focus of this game.
Definitely
even though
not.
We've had 2 total.
Yeah, in 31 minutes. And then we get the Elder, which may not even be involved depending on how well Immortals can starve them out here. They have the Caitlyn to siege with traps. They have the Anivia behind, and they have the split push going with Huni's Aurelia.
Well, Baron buff has dropped. But TP up for Huni, and this is really the formation that Immortals want to be in this situation. NRG going to have to fend off a lot of sieges here. And I'm not sure GBM's got the big play in him. Good wall, again, just zoning them out. Turtle's got plenty of traps where that came from. The wave's going to push in, and the test begins.
Absolutely. I mean, GBM's trying to cheat over and maybe get a good fight while they stop Huni, but like the brute force initiation would just be so difficult through the traps, through the Anivia, through the Zyra, like almost impossible. So Huni just taking free shots at this turret.
Almost gets it on this wave. Actually,
he might be able to
yeah,
fight
he's going to get it.
This.
He wants to fight GBM, going to stun him. And GBM's like, I don't really heal as much as you. And he's like, I know, I'm going to keep fighting. Equilibrium strike in. There it is. 1,000 health back. Easy, please.
Sturge still taken by Huni. He's a little low on mana, but would have his teleport if he wants to come back and join it now. Here we go. That's the 4-1 kicking in. Wild Turtle gets a few shots on the other side. Really well played siege thus far by Immortals.
Yep, rapid fire cannon doing work there for Turtle on the Caitlyn. Huge range as he steps into siege. Huni has stepped away though. I believe he's hanging out in the fountain. Yeah, he is. So maybe looking for a flank, but definitely wanted to get that mana back. And that open inhibitor is right there as Huni's going to teleport back to try and finish it off.
Yep, and unless NRG commit 2 people, they can't stop Huni from taking this. Because if they commit 2 people, they're going to lose on the other side. So they're going all in for an initiation.
Yep, they have to try something. Good on from Santorin. Turtle back into the team. Exhausted and trying to flash away, but they're going to flash on top of him and take him down. Right over there, tanking damage on the other side as Adrian's going to get taken up by GBM. Huni gets Karma on the other end, though. We'll see what happens here in the rest of the fight. Rainova, very tanky. Now onto Oki, who's actually going to try and 1v1 him, but Rainova stands his ground for now. GBM going to try and save his teammate, but Santorin does to Pobelter on the other end. Rainova takes the tunnel system out to safety, and Huni, just too disruptive with the help of Pobelter, might be able to clean this one out. The damage is there, but Huni goes straight over the wall for another one. Pobelter collects kills everywhere, and GBM, the last one standing, does fall for the ace.
Really impressed with the way Immortals played that fight because it looked like NRG had actually gotten a flank off for them. And then Pobelter trolls Huni at the end of the game there with a wall. It's not going to matter. This is going to be Immortals taking the series 2-1.
Yep, really smart last game here for Immortals. A well-played composition and a victory it will be. Once again, pushed to the limit as NRG show really strong signs of life, but one game is not enough this split to get you a win.
Absolutely. That moves them to 0-3. Immortals stays undefeated in matches, going to 3-0. A little shaky the way they got there, but I will say they got better as the series progressed, which is the type of progress you want to see. Huni, feeding a little bit in the first 2 games on Aurelia, definitely crushed the last bits of this game. That team fight at the end there, really want to see that again. The work that Huni and Pobelter would have done, because Wild Turtle got killed right at the start of that fight. And there was a Vladimir in there, and like once your main DPS guy gets killed against a Vladimir, you think Vladimir's just going to take over the fight, but that just wasn't the case.
And it's funny, you joked about it where it's like, oh, we have trouble knowing what's strong because we just beat everyone playing like random champions or whatever for Immortals. I feel like best of 3 actually helps them in that regard because they play more on stage, they play more LCS matches, and they're like, oh, okay, this stuff is good.
It does.
We can adapt, and we've seen their adaptation, I'm going to say surprisingly strong.
Yeah.
Given how often they've been pushed to 3 games.
And I really don't think that Immortals, when they reach the playoffs this split, will have the same fallback of like, oh, we didn't figure out the meta in time. Like, they will figure it out. And they have proven time and again that they are still very good players and capable of adapting, but it's still a really long season. That is now 3/18 of the actual matches they will be playing. So plenty of learning and growth to happen for both of these.
Yeah, must be tough for Immortals, losing twice as many games this season already than they did in the last split. On the flip side, though, NRG marked improvements already from week 1. We talked about it. Yeah, being 0-3 to start your season isn't great, but it's certainly a long season. And even in that series alone, you can just see kind of what's coming together. They're a team that was kind of thrown together, and already it feels like they're starting to learn a bit more how to play together.
Yeah, and they're going to need to continue to do that, right? Because the 10 teams of the North American LCS, like every single one of them has something to fight for, and it's only the top 6 that make the playoffs. And it's also, especially for GBM, while he is hopeful of his teammates, it's got to be in the back of his mind that like last split, they started really well and still just barely made the playoffs. So when you start poorly, that just means their performance has to be that much better in the upcoming 15 matches they still have to play.
Yeah, and sort of in the larger picture of the league, it's not like this split is any less competitive than spring. In fact, it may be the most competitive NALCS season ever, given what we've seen from the new teams that have come in, the old teams that are still playing. Yeah. It's an uphill battle, certainly, and that's probably the tough thing about best of threes is, yes, you learn more, you get more chances to play on the big stage, and maybe adapt and learn faster, but at the end of the day, you still lose when you lose 1-2.
Yeah, exactly. And to get ahead of the trolls that were just like, you always say that the NLCS is better, it's because it usually is. Yeah. Like, this is such, like, League of Legends is still only 4 to 5 years old as far as, like, actual competitive games, and the infrastructure grows, and the organizational structure and power grows every single year, and the players just get better with more experience and more coaching. So, yeah, this is an incredibly exciting season we're about to have in North America because of best of threes, because of all the experience, because of all the players, and I can't wait.
Well, I can't wait either, but we are going to throw it over to an interview. Dom is standing by stateside with a member of Immortals.
Thanks, guys. Great cast on the night, by the way. I am joined by Pobelter after that 2-1 victory and very, very solid play at the end there. Now, before the match, we heard a little bit about some overconfidence you guys were talking about. Well, seems like you got over it over the course of that game.
Yeah, I think some of the issues we were having last split were related to overconfidence, but our loss in the playoffs really humbled us, and we realized that we need to kind of expand the sort of strategies that we're playing, treat practice, treat stage games more seriously. And so I think this split is going obviously a bit more rough than last split where we were just tearing through everyone, but I'm still a lot more confident in how we're going to play towards the end than I did last split.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Now, to follow up on that a little bit, last split you guys were 17-1, and now you've already dropped 2 games in the first 2 weeks. How does that feel?
Indifferent. I mean, because we dropped games all the time in practice, right? So, yeah. But overall, I believe our record on the standings is shown as 3-0 rather than our total game record. So I think we're still undefeated so far in that sense. So. Yeah. Still holding on to that.
Yeah, technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. And now to talk a little bit more about that, do you think the change to best of threes might have had anything to do with that?
Yeah, I think we're showing a bit more confidence in trying different strategies. Maybe champions were not as comfortable as playing. Last split, we were sort of running the same strategy every game, which was like level 3 or level 4 getting top lane, and Hooney's just going to 1v5 the game sort of deal. And it kept working because we were really good at it, but this time around, we're trying some different strategies. Hooney's finally playing tank sometimes. I'm not playing Lux every game, so it's really good, actually.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Now, one final question for you. You've got one best of 3 tomorrow against the only team to have defeated Immortals in a best of series, TSM. Got any thoughts?
TSM's looking really crisp after their boot camp in Korea. I think that Biofrost fits in really well with the team. And overall, even though they're looking more coordinated than we are, I guess, I don't believe that they dropped a game the first weekend. I think it's going to be a close set.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to see that in action. Pobelter, thank you so much. Congratulations on the 2-1. We're going to send it over to the analyst desk to break that down.
Thank you very much, Dom. I, too, am looking forward to that series tomorrow between Immortals and TSM. Is it Sunday?
I think so.
Okay. Well, now we've just misled the viewers. We'll figure that out at the end of the day. Yeah. Regardless, before we get to that series, we got to break down this series between NRG and Immortals. Immortals do come out on top, winning their second game 2-1 against NRG. This one, again, relatively consistent in terms of establishing an early lead. Hooney picking up a lead in that top lane, and then for him this time around to really being able to apply that side lane pressure on the Aurelia.
Yeah, like I have to give a lot of credit to Santorin, honestly. He was doing a lot of work in the early game. He was getting his lanes ahead, but then they were really doing nothing with it. Like, you know, we're saying Hooney got a lead for himself, but this was after he got first blooded by Santorin. Again. He got first blooded again, and then you look at the lane, and Quas is already losing, and it's a situation where I think that Quas wasn't really managing the waves that well. He's putting himself in these positions where he can get run down. He's not allowing the wave to reset and repeat gank this guy, because when you actually, you know, kill off their top laner, and you get his flash, this should be a really easy repeat gank. We had that one failed gank where they came down, he TP'd right back, they tried to kind of like 2v1 him, but it was in all the minions, he took so much minion damage, ended up dying, went into early for Santorin, and the lane kind of went disaster after that.
Right. Absolutely. So good on Huni there to kind of create that lead for himself in the face of the pressure from Santorin. You know, if we move across the map during this game for Immortals, it just seemed like that Anivia as well as the Caitlyn traps and the Zyra gave them a lot more of an ability to kind of create the fights, the landscape of fights that they wanted. Whereas GBM on the other side was kind of that one-man army doing everything he could on the Vladimir that he has carried with prior. Not quite enough this time around.
Yeah, this game started out with, lane advantages for Immortals, which they're used to getting. But this time around, they drafted a really secure mid-game transition here. It's so annoying. If you have a Zyra, Anivia, and Caitlyn traps all to deal with to try and get a lead back, you got to make a play.
Right.
You got to make a play dodging 6 traps, 4 plants, and Anivia Walls is going to pop out of nowhere. It's just... That's so solid of a siege comp, and they were actually able to utilize it this time. Like you said, in the side lane, Huni created the pressure, so then they got to draw across the map as well.
Yeah, that 4-1 split, the inability to kind of break the siege that was put on. We did see, to NRG's credit, we did see them try and find a couple inventive ways of getting through it, right? Either running straight through it, having GBM flank. Unfortunately, didn't work out. The warding for Immortals was there so that they saw it in time. They could kind of react to it properly. Moving away from, or rather before we move away from the game, let's award the player of the game. That's going to Huni this time around. On this Aurelia, really did establish a lead in that side lane. 6.1k gold over Quas at the end of the game. That is nuts when it comes to differentiation in items.
Yeah, I mean, he played this one really well. I still like that he's got that Huni flavor to it, though, where he makes a couple plays where you're like, oh, he's getting real. His eyes get real big. He's going super deep, a little bit too much, but he keeps it at a very high pace.
Yeah, he's very, very aggressive, creates his own advantages, which is something that cannot be overstated. It's one thing to be able to extend a lead. He creates his own leads in disadvantageous situations, and that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's take a step back and look at the whole series, because I do want to talk about NRG and the improvements that they've made, but also areas in which they still need to pick up the slack. So major things for me here is that Santorin did apply a lot more pressure in this week, helping out Quas. I mean, Quas isn't necessarily turning it into any other further advantages, but very good to see him put some pressure into lanes as opposed rather to sticking back and farming the jungle the whole game.
Yeah, I think for Santorin, he had some really good improvements, and he almost had too many successes. Like, he had successful ganks top and bottom, and he was just kind of all over the map trying to make things right everywhere because he's trying to fix all of these lane situations.
There's too many leaks. You can't repair them all.
Yeah, but sometimes...
He's only got 10 fingers.
What happens when you do that as a jungler is you're going to lose control of your quadrant of the jungle. Like, you kind of have to elect an area to focus on so that you can return to that area, you can farm also. So what happened was he was ganking a whole bunch, fixing everywhere, and then he would lose out. Rainover would come take that Rainover tax. That's going to cost you 2 camps, you gank down there. It's going to cost you a couple more camps, you gank again. And it's just, it's hard to do that as a jungler.
Right, yeah, 20 minutes in, we did see a 30 CS. In this most recent game, we saw a 30 CS lead from Rainover. And when that is jungle camps, that's a significant amount of gold that was contributing to Immortals' advantages there. Now let's look at the areas in which NRG needs to pick up the slack. I think Quas has been a point of criticism for them. What else, Zale, are you looking at for this NRG roster to continue to work throughout the split?
I think a lot of it just comes down to really working well together as a team. I think one of the biggest differences this game, NRG looked a lot better, first of all, but I think just their wave control, their map movements, they're not as good at that as a team like Immortals. They seem to kind of lose control of winning lanes a fair bit, which I think is a little bit inexperience, a little bit of miscommunication, not knowing where people should be at the right times and stuff. They're missing waves. They're not bouncing them properly, things like that. And these little things add up to big differences.
Yeah, I think that the improvements that we expect from NRG are things that you would expect from a team that just got put together. They just reorganized, and they're looking up already. So I think that is a good sign.
Yeah,
OQ also looked really good. I think, today. He looked really good.
All right, there you go. To use a word from Pobelter, not looking quite as crisp as, say, some of the top tier teams. Looking for them to get there.
Said you were going to use it.
I did. I said I was going to use it,
in.
and I did it. I got it in there. Now,
A little crunchy.
all right. So Series 1 out of the way here tonight. Now let's focus in on the next matchup that we're going to see. That's Apex versus Team Envy. Our other two teams that are sitting at that 2-0 are two new teams coming in hot, but one of them's got to fall tonight. So as we look at this, I know we've already talked a lot about the top lane, but let's start there. Seraph and Ray. I mean, this is a sweet matchup between the two of these guys.
It's going to be really exciting, especially Seraph, I think, is someone you have to worry about a lot because, like Kobe talked about earlier, champion diversity is insane. How do you ban that? With Ray, it's a little bit more cut and dry. You can be like, okay, well, most of his success came on the Fizz. Let's get that out of there. If your top laner is a lot more flexible, you can actually focus top lane bans if that's something that you're worried about and still have Seraph on something he's happy playing.
And the extra wrinkle in this, Seraph does a lot of shot calling for all of the teams he's ever been on. Even when he's substituted into the LCS, he did shot calling for the team he's subbing for.
Right.
So if there's a top lane shot caller and they know that they've been watching games where Apex focuses a lot on, getting buffs for Ray and focusing on Ray, how is Seraph gonna handle that as, a shot caller and a big carry for the team?
Yeah, I mean, they have some time to actually have studied each other now. So, Apex, that was their first week in the LCS. They showed huge top lane priority. If you can actually set that up, keep wards on the Rift Herald, if you can contest that, that can go tragic really fast because this is, a powerful buff, but you take a lot of damage.
And it's really easy to interrupt people if they're on Rift Herald. It has so much life now. It's
it
like
really does.
12,000 HP or something. It takes a long time to do. If you want to just wander over there, you can stop them pretty
The fact
easily.
that you have to dedicate 2 to 3 people, the amount of damage it deals to whoever's tanking it, absolutely absurd. Either way, we have to take a quick break. That concludes our coverage of Immortals versus NRG, but we've got more league action coming your way. When we return, Apex and Team Envy will face off in our second match of the night. Stick around. We'll be right back.
It's been a great BO3 so far. Which of these teams are going to either pick up their third straight match win, or if NRG can finally get a win on the board? Quark's going to lock him up with Twisted Advance. Bob back there with the body slams. Enough for first blood. Santorin again. On it all. GVM going back in for it. GVM's in the tower. He actually gets Pobelter.
You devil, GVM.
Taking damage a little too low. Does Twisted Advance away, but Adrian's going to collect credit for that kill. Now GVM going down as well.
Immortals stays undefeated in matches. They got better as the series progressed.